Recently, I held a conference on mistaken behavior at my school. For my coworkers, at this conference, I introduced myself, discussed and based the meeting on the importance of mistaken behavior. One of my favorite quotes from Benjamin Franklin is, "Tell me and I will forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I will learn." Meaning, we as teachers need to take hands-on approach and communicate with the students. Next slide. This is an overview about mistaken behavior. We're going to review mistaken behavior as defined, the difference between mistaken behavior and misbehavior, patterns and levels, the limit of mistaken behavior, the guidance approach, positive discipline, approaches, guidance, and communication. I'll also include 2 videos and 2 group activities as well. The link below on this PowerPoint slide, I showed the link on this page to give us the aha moment and should introduce mistaken behavior. Like people would say, "Oh yes, this is what mistaken behavior is," and so on and so forth, to kind of get them involved with this as well. This is the definition of mistaken behavior. Before I went on with the PowerPoint, I asked the audience if anyone could give me a brief overview and definition as to what mistaken behavior is. A few of the members of the audience volunteered, but had a hard time doing so. They had a hard time defining mistaken behavior. Many were meaning misbehaving patterns, as the two were generally grouped together and misinterpreted. Mistaken behavior is judgments, errors, the actions that are made in the process of learning life skills. Behavior is learned through life experience based on choices and interactions one has in the environment. Children are at the beginning stage of life, where mistakes often occur. We learn through our mistakes. Mistakes are commonly viewed as misbehavior. Next slide. The difference of mistaken and misbehavior. Mistaken behavior is an unconventional term as it is made up of 3 different levels. Children learn through trial and error, making mistakes, and learning from their mistakes. Commonly, mistaken behavior is interpreted as misbehavior, as young children may have a hard time communicating as adults do. Therefore, we focus on the negatives and judge their actions as misbehaving. Commonly, we then punish a child, resulting in their embarrassment, as we negatively label them. Also, I reviewed the points on the slide about mistaken and misbehavior as well, and the different levels, and about negatively labeling them. We really don't want to do that because that also embarrasses them as well. Next slide. Levels. Not only did I review this slide, but I also went into depth. These are the 3 levels of mistaken behavior. Experimentation, occurring as a result of curiosity or involvement of exploration in a situation. Socially, learned behavior, wanting to please and identify with others. Strong unmet needs, the ability to not cope to the unmet needs physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Next slide. Beyond misbehaving, that seems to be the question. One might think it's easy to tell mistaken behavior from misbehaving. To be honest, it's not always that simple or easy. Here are a few listed things you may want to consider the difference to differentiate the two. Ask yourself, is bullying misbehaving or misinterpreted? Are all forms of challenging behavior unacceptable through this learning process? Are temper tantrums out of control or for attention based on the lack of knowing how to use verbal communication? Next, I introduced the group activity. This group activity, we passed out papers with stories listed on them. The members of the audience were asked to volunteer to read the stories out loud, and then describe and decide if the behavior was mistaken or misbehaving. The next slide is about patterns. There are 3 patterns of mistaken behavior. Encounter, which is the most mature pattern, turns passive into active. The adjuster learns what is expected and how to produce this behavior. Survivor, a mature pattern, a want to decrease change because of the past. Attempt and a concern to get through a day without disturbing needs. Next slide. This is on the guidance approach. Again, I went into depth with this as well in the conference. The next slide is on guidance approach. We all want to use guidance and intervention when working with children, referring to conflicts as mistaken behavior instead of misbehavior. You should not punish a child for their mistakes, as you should use techniques to help resolve the conflict and show them how to handle this another way. We use the term discipline, as guiding them will help a situation instead of taking the students out of the conflict and using negative guidance. Do not use specific labels such as, Johnny, you're a bad boy, or Johnny, you're acting like a baby. Be firm and friendly. Do not be uninviting. Use conflict resolution instead of unintentional frustration. Take a step back and see if you, the teacher, can help resolve the issues or limit mistaken behavior in the classroom. Next slide. This slide's on positive discipline. Before we use any form of discipline, we need to see what is happening. This means figure out what the problem is. Go over it with the students or student and try to resolve the issue instead of stopping the activity. Explain how to correctly resolve the conflict. Show the students the correct way and use positive discipline as we learn by our mistakes and errors. We also learn by being hands-on and shown the correct way instead of being harshly disciplined. In all, students do not know how to developmentally fix and solve conflicts. We are there to guide and assist along the way. This is a learning journey. Construct a fair solution to the problem. If Sam and John are having an argument about taking turns as John is taking more time during his turn, explain to them that we need to be fair and share the paintbrush in the art center. Possibly find a way you can time the students by maybe sand or any means necessary if this is the only way for them to comprehend. Also, show them the other students who are sharing nicely. Explain that paint is not going to go anywhere. Sharing is caring, and we will all get a chance to finish the artwork. Next slide. Support and communication. No one is too good enough to ask for help. This leads us to the next slide, support and communication. Bonding and having a relationship with the families of the students in the class will only assist you to understand the students. Behavior at home is more than likely transferred into the classroom. For instance, Timmy may be having a rough time at home with his sister. His sister also stomps her feet, and then his parents give in and give to her what she wants or needs. This behavior has rubbed off to Timmy, and he's now picking up the behavior. He uses his words, but also stomps his feet continuously throughout the classroom if he doesn't get his way. Knowing this is going on at home can help you understand why he's doing this in class. You can then make judgments and resolve the behavior as you encourage verbal communication, possibly speak openly with the parents, and you can kind of get a good judgment on how to handle the situation as well. We reviewed mistaken behavior as defined, the differences between mistaken behavior and misbehavior, patterns and labels, the limits of mistaken behavior, the guidance approach, positive discipline, approaches, guidance, and communication. Also, they included 2 videos and the 2 group activities. Next, I had them watch the link on this slide. This is basically an overview of mistaken behavior, more or less of a review as well. Let's see. Next slide. This is my works cited page as well. Right after this, we introduced the group activity, making your own poster. After reading the slide, I divided the room into groups. Each group was to make a poster on rules, on things that would help a teacher or student know when a child is misbehaving. Each group was supplied with markers and a poster board. About 20 minutes in, the groups stopped, shared the presentations with the overall conference. This activity helped others clarify and clearly identify the differences between misbehaving and misbehavior. Again, throughout the conference, I had handouts as well, brochures. I got to speak openly about who I am, what the conference was about, and so on and so forth. Overall, the conference was about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. I also had open question time where they could ask questions, and I can guide them into maybe a helping situation and so on and so forth. Again, my name is Melissa Zielinski, and I do want to thank you for listening to my PowerPoint on mistaken behavior. Thank you.